Here it is, everybody. Here's the breaking news.
I don't know if it's breaking news.
Well, it's interesting. It's interesting news, if not breaking news.
Okay. Okay, so the third one is Jack would be financially exposed outside of losing the treasure chest. So let's go with what the premise is. Let me tee it up, and then I'm actually going to show you a statute. If Jack were to announce the treasure chest location, is there a statute that could hold him liable if others damage property or the location, or simply make it a tourist attraction and that area is not equipped to be one? That's the first set of questions that I'm thinking to myself.
Okay.
The second, would this statute have come out after Forrest already saw his attorney the first time before he started the hunt? But remember when he went back to an attorney in 2015-16? So I'm looking for a statute that would have started after 2010, but before 2015, that would say specifically, if that person or someone else damages the location because of that person, if that is the reason, they can be held liable. So you got to start doing some searching. And
K-Pro, did you find one?
I found one. The National Park Statute chapter. Remember when he talked about subchapters? Chapter 1007, subchapter 2, System Unit Resource Protection. And it was enacted, put into effect December 19th, 2014. Now I'm going to.
This would have been after the chase started, before he went to the attorney the second time. Okay, so it fits that parameter anyway. Okay.
Right. Now I'm going to give you guys the actual legal mumbo jumbo, and then I'm going to give you kind of my layman's terms of what it means, and then I'm going to give you 4 attorneys' opinions. Can Jack be held liable? And then I'm going to give you a pretend exchange between Jack and Forrest based on this theory. Okay, go.
So four lawyers you consulted based off this statute. If that's how you pronounce it, statute. Okay. All right, here we go.
Statute with a T.
This is the actual statute. You guys can look it up, read it yourself.
So it basically says if you damage something, you have to pay the costs. And so what does damages mean? It's the cost of replacing, restoring, or acquiring the equivalent system. When you look at system, we'll jump to the bottom there.
System unit resource. Okay.
Anytime you see system unit resource, it means anything living or non-living in the boundary of that system. So let's say it's in Yellowstone at DeLacy. You think, wait, what could be damaged there? It's just a bunch of trees. It could be the trees that are damaged. It can be the trail that needs to be put forth at that spot. It could be the parking lot that now needs to be put in that doesn't have a parking lot. It only has a pullout right now, et cetera, et cetera.
Basically, what this law is saying is the park can charge anybody for any time or money they have to spend because you did something.
Time or money, and including maintenance and improving an area that is not currently an existing tourist attraction. And I'm going to get to that in a second.
A with a $5 super chat. In your face, chasing Indian 3D bronze. Thank you, A. He says Nick Sparrow, K-Pro, and Cowlazars are legends. It's quick hands casserole, by the way. Okay, thank you, A. We appreciate it. Okay, let's get back to this federal law that was enacted in 2014. Statute, law, whatever. Okay.
The response cost, it could be to prevent the destruction. So it could be security cameras. It's not just their informational signs, or to minimize the risk of destruction, especially if there's already precedent of searchers who have made, dug up graves, made rescues, etc.
But that would mean somebody would have to go damage it or do something that would cause the park to react in a certain way. And then they could try and find that person, right?
Or if it's a remote location that doesn't have an established trail, and now we need to make an established trail.
Okay. Oops. Hang on. Darn it. Hang on. I always do that, and I don't know why. Give me a second, everybody. Give you a minute to digest everything K-Pro said here. There we go. Boom, 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 boom. There we go. Oh, we got another super chat from the man himself, Copper Dan. Just because I care. Copper Dan with the $25 super chat. Oh, and I got to talk to you about Coin 3 when we're done with the show. K-Pro, forgot about that. We'll talk to you, Dan. We'll talk to you. Okay. Keep going.
Okay,
Thanks,
So
Nick.
now we know that the damages, it's cost of replacing, restoring, preventing destruction, minimizing, they have to minimize risk, any risk
I
that
get
they
it.
have to minimize,
Mhm.
and monitoring of any sort of loss or destruction or injury,
So
including injury. So let's add that injury part. That'll become
let me
important.
ask you something, and we'll keep going. But just
ahead.
based off of what you just read, couldn't Yellowstone National Park Service go after Forrest Fenn or his estate just based off the people that have screwed up? The guy they had to rescue, the guy that got arrested, all that stuff. If they wanted to, they could use this statute to basically sue.
And I believe they did.
You believe they did try and get their recover money?
No, I believe they
Oh.
threatened.
Oh, okay. And we got.
And I said that long ago. There was like maybe a year ago that I believe the superintendent had communications with Forrest that said, you need to shut this down, or under this statute, we can come after you. My premise is Forrest told Jack about this statute and said, be a maverick, but we're not there yet.
Yeah, we're not there yet. One more super chat from Chasing Indy says, save your chat money. Oh, how you doing, Paul? Okay. All right. Okay. We are on to response costs, right? Number 2.
No, I did all of those. So the damages are the cost of
Right.
replacing, preventing destruction, minimizing risk of
Anything,
loss or injury, and monitoring. And based on all that, when you think of system unit resource at the bottom, it's anything within that unit area. So again, if it's DeLacy, it could be the parking area, the trail, the kiosk signs.
System unit resource means any living or non-living resource that is located within the boundaries of a system unit.
Yeah.
And in this case, we're talking about a national park. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. This is the actual statute, right? Okay.
Statute, yeah. So one, it was passed in late 2014, so it's fitting all of these criteria. And number 2 is, okay, so if somebody has this liability that could happen, Jack wants to say, I want to put it out. What defense can he have? Because if he puts it out, he may fall under this statute. What defense does he have? Any person that destroys. Oh, wait. No, that's my next slide. Hold on. So in general, the liability is any person that causes the loss of any system unit resource is liable. It's not only the person that destroys it, it's any person that causes the loss. And I put it in red. Any person that causes the loss of any system resource is liable. Mike, you're going to read the red because you just went off somewhere else. Look at the red words, read only the red words and tell me what you think.
Okay. Subject to subsection C. Any person that destroys, and I understand that.
No,
if I go to
okay, listen to my words. Only read the red words, please.
I got to do it my way. All right. Any person that causes the loss of any system unit resource is liable.
Okay.
So what I was going to say is any person that destroys, if I go to Yellowstone and take a chainsaw on a tree, I understand probably I'll get arrested, but they can make me pay for them to pull that log out or do whatever they got to do to fix it. But this also says any person that destroys, causes the loss of or injures any system unit resource is liable. Causes the loss of is the important part, right? Or the interesting part.
Yeah.
If I cause the loss of, I didn't do it myself, but I caused it to happen. That's interesting. Okay. Any liability in REM? We know what that is in REM.
In REM, I don't know. It's a Latin term, and I didn't take Latin.
Oh, it is? Okay. Causes the loss of or injures any system unit resource shall be liable to the United States for any response costs and damages resulting from the destruction, loss, or injury. Okay, I get that. I guess I see that. Okay. Defenses.
Okay. So what are their defenses? So Jack has this potential liability. If he tells people, people are going to make it a shrine. They're going to go out to a remote location. They may destroy it. We have some crazy birds out there. So what is his defense? His defense is, the pertinent one is number 2. But Mike, you read through it. The ones in red are what I have highlighted as important. But you go ahead.
Read the one in red.
You can read all of, do it your way, but ultimately I want to focus on number 2.
This is the defense. So if I go to Yellowstone and cut down a tree, I have a defense. And it says the person's not liable under this section if the person establishes that the destruction, loss of, or injury to the system unit resource was caused solely by an act of God or an act of war. We don't have to worry about that. Number 2, The person acted with due care, and the destruction, loss of, or injury to the system unit resource was caused solely by an act or omission of a third party other than an employee or agent of the person. Let me read that again. The person acted with due care, and the destruction, loss of, or injury was caused solely by an act or omission of a third party. So that's saying if a third party does it, I'm not liable, but it says I have to act with due care.
Right.
That's the
So
important
the
part,
question
right?
would be, okay,
Yeah.
now take this down for a second before we get to
Okay.
number 3. Because do you think that Jack reasonably should have known that this area now would need improvements and or there might be damage to it? Would a reasonable person that has been in the Forrest Fenn hunt know that you got some crazy people that damage stuff and there's lots and lots of issues already? And 2, people will put a shrine up to it. They will go to a remote location that right now is not equipped to do so.
Yeah. You think this was in Jack's head? Is that what you just asked?
I just asked you hypothetically.
Hypothetically, it could pose an issue. In other words, so that statute basically says I don't have to be the one to do it. I can cause it if I cause another person to do it. But the interesting part, let me go back to it. The interesting part is it says my defense is the person acted with due care and the destruction was caused by another person. But it's that due care part because it's and the person was caused and the destruction was caused by another person.
Well, listen, okay. So if Jack has done everything he possibly can to not put out the solution and some subpoena tells him he has to, he has acted with due care. He tried to not put it out. That is, in my opinion, he would be, or in at least one lawyer's opinion, that he acted with due care. If he just put it out there and all damn to anybody that has an issue with it.
Well, that's the question for me. I'm not worried about what would happen later on. I'm talking about right now, meaning if in Dan Barbarosi's book, the very last chapter, Jack spelled out what the 9 clues were and the location of where it was found. If somebody who read that book now goes and destroys that property somehow, some way, in some unforeseen way, I guess, or even destroyed it on purpose just because they don't like Jack, can the park go after Jack and say, you caused all these people to show up and trash this place. We're going to charge you to clean it up.
If Jack didn't put it out?
No, if Jack did put it out. If it was in Barbarisi's book, Jack put out the solution and the location. Do you think the park would charge Jack to clean it up after so many hundreds of people go there?
Yes.
And you're saying that you believe that's why Jack won't reveal it?
Yes.
Because of that possibility?
Yes.
So, but then so the question is, would the park actually go after him is really the question, right? But why wouldn't they go after Forrest Fenn when he just wrote the poem?
Well, that's a great, so let's continue on with the PowerPoint and that will be answered.
Because you could even say if somebody, when we did the show on the GPS, people have gone there and left things behind, right? That Cynthia picked up, which I get it now. But if the park had to send somebody out there to pick that up, you're trying to say they could charge us and say, you caused people to go there.
Yes.
What? Somehow it doesn't sound
now,
right.
Would they for something small like us and there's 5 little necklaces?
Trinkets, yeah.
But 10 years of the destruction and Forrest and the Yellowstone superintendent got it on. They argued about this specifically in this hypothetical situation.
Well, here's the difference, though. The difference between our YouTube show and Jack is if Jack comes out with the solution, that's national news. It's actually worldwide news.
Yes.
And that would cause, I would go. If Jack says this is where it was, I would go look at it. Me and you would go. We're not going to damage anything, but what if we accidentally damage something?
No, but think about, okay, so let's say we would go, maybe 10,000 people would go. There's no trail currently. If there is no trail and 10,000 people start walking that trail, not only will it change the habitat, but also under ADA, it becomes a trail. Is it a maintained trail? Has Yellowstone maintained that trail? What if somebody falls because it wasn't maintained? There's no safety kiosk at the point that says you need to do this and that.
Well, you're in a national park, but I understand what you're saying. Do they now have to change this location because so many people are going to go there and try and go there? And would they charge Jack and say, you caused this, you didn't take your due care. You, by releasing the solution, have set all these thousands of people there. They trashed it. Somebody peed on a rock, something happened, whatever. We're going to bill you and we're going to continue to bill you. Every time we have to go out there, we're going to charge you. I mean, would that, I guess that's a possibility.
It's a and that's all I'm saying. Is this a possibility? Yeah. Okay, so let's keep going. Yeah, do you see why I said no to the kids and you said yes, honey? Okay. So, okay, so let me put it in non-legal terms. A person who does not damage property, who does not damage the property, site, location, plants, property himself, but causes others to damage property in a national park, can be held liable for those damages, even if it was not themselves who did it. The person's defense is they must act with due care, keep the location private, and make sure it does not become a tourist attraction without the permission of the park. But if the third party makes a claim, or if there's something outside of their control, they won't be liable. This includes security, monitoring, repair, replacing, prevention of future damage, protection of property and site. That's the layman's terms of what we just reviewed.
So let me ask you this. Let's go back to the conference room. Jack and Forrest are there. There's the chest contents. Why wouldn't Forrest release it? In other words, Jack didn't release it. Forrest released it. Because if he wants it to be known, and is it, if Forrest was the one who put the statement on Dale's site, not Jack, does that take the liability away from Jack, do you think?
It could have, and I think that that was what they were discussing, and Forrest kept saying, be patient. I have a hypothetical here. He basically said it's up to Jack. And Jack didn't say, oh, you can release it because that's your liability. I think Jack was worried about losing the treasure chest and also getting roped into it. So he told Forrest no.
Or do you think Forrest was like, I'm not going to do it because I'm not going to have my family be sued over the next 10 years by he didn't want his family to have to deal with the repercussions.
I have a different scenario. If you give me the next slide.
Okay.
I have Forrest and Jack sitting down face to face about this.
Possible related reason.
Okay, I have one other slide and then I'll go into exactly your answer. So possible related reasons. Would a reasonable person, I already asked this, believe that damage or increased traffic of this remote site could become a tourist attraction? I think yes, that's obvious, right?
And we've said we've talked about we should put a statue there, we should put a plaque, something, and then everybody would go there. We've talked about that exact same thing. Yes, it would become a tourist attraction.
Yeah. The second is Jack's reason. It's not, Jack said it's not a tourist attraction and someone could get hurt traveling to the spot. Jack said that.
So Bobby D just has a good point. Bobby D just said in the chat, in my opinion, it's a double-edged sword because by Jack not revealing the solution, there are so many people going out there and could fall from a cliff to their death. But in my opinion, Bobby, the difference is people are responsible for their own actions. That person who went to their spot, that's on them. But if Jack comes out with a location that I then go to, can I then blame Jack because he's the one who's sending me or told me where to go?
You can't blame Jack, but when Yellowstone has to go and pick them up and spend resources in the spot, Forrest did not account for this. In 2010, I think he thought like you. By 2014, they put that statute in place and an attorney said, be careful. And Forrest said, I'm a maverick, I don't care. Jack said, no way. Like, I have a scenario.
Who would want to deal with that? If this is part of the reason, I understand it. Who would want to deal with it? There's people out there that would probably go destroy something just to try and jam Jack up and just say, I don't like the guy. He ended it. I'm going to go cut down this tree. Let him charge Jack. Yeah.
Okay, let's keep going. I only have like 2 more slides.
Okay. Not a terrestrial. Okay.
Okay, so Jack has said he will not so Jack was asked in an email, have you had any discussions with Yellowstone officials about the fine? And he said, I do not want to disclose that. He didn't say no. He said he didn't want to disclose that. Did Yellowstone make him aware that if it was there, here's the statute like they did to Forrest, in my opinion?
Okay.
There's my first. And Forrest or Jack must be aware of all the public fines, the criminal violations, the people digging up graves. He couldn't say he was unaware of it. I don't believe.
Right.
Okay. I've already said that a couple times. Okay, so here's a hypothetical conversation.
Okay.
Forrest says, Jack, Yellowstone has threatened me for years. This statute would be a far reach to hold a third party liable for damage they didn't do themselves. They never sued me. Why do you think I went back to an attorney in 15, 16? Don't be afraid. Okay, you be Jack.
No, I could understand that reasoning, saying they didn't sue Forrest or they didn't go after Forrest. And a lot of bad things have happened in Yellowstone because of his poem. And then Jack says, yes, but I don't have the pocketbook you do. You and I both know this is not a place fit to be a tourist attraction.
I'm Forrest again, guys. What are you concerned about, Jack?
Not only crazy searchers destroying property, but also if Yellowstone National Park has to improve the area to be a tourist attraction and security and or maintenance. Jack turns to the lawyers. What do you think?
The lawyers say it's a risk, but you know my billable rate. I'm happy to defend you in that case. Smiles.
And Forrest says, I changed my stance during the search. I want the solution out. It is completely up to you now. Of course, there's a risk. I will hold that to my word and commitment to you. I will do as you wish, but I am a maverick. Are you?
And the lawyers say, whatever your answer, it is best for you not to meet after this. Any meeting or correspondence, it's possible to be discovered via subpoena. This, in my opinion, explains why Jack and Forrest never met again. And Jack says, I wish to not reveal the location, my identity, or the solution. And Forrest said,
you have my word. And then he sighs because anybody who found the chest would not want to deal with legal court battles. I understand that part. I understand just saying, you know what, I'm just not going to say where it was because I'm not dealing with any of this. Even the possibility of it happening, I get it. Why do I want $1 million treasure chest that I sell for $1.2 million when I've got to have $300,000 in legal fees or whatever? I understand Jack just saying, I'm not going to deal with it. Sorry, Forrest, I'm not. If you're leaving it up to me, I'm not dealing with it. That makes sense. I could see that happening.
And that's why that piece is the reason that Jack now needs to make this a completely legal game. He can't have further correspondence back and forth with Jack that might get subpoenaed one day. He made that break, in my opinion. Look at Lisa Marie's question. Why don't you read that one, Mike? Read that one.
K-Pro, let's FOIA them for copies of correspondence they've sent in 2020 or 2021 that reference this statute. Can we do that? So Yellowstone National Park, any correspondence they've had dealing with this particular statute? That would be interesting. What I want to know, has the park ever gone after anybody over the statute in the history of the park? Since 2014, when this was enacted.
I wish I was better at I had a couple of the people that know the court listener law, like, can you look up this term or any of that? And I don't have the expertise to do it. I would love to know. Okay, let's go to, go ahead.
The PowerPoint, we still got another one or no?
Yeah, we have one more. This is the 4 attorneys that I consulted.
So that was a hypothetical conversation, everybody. We're just thinking it through on how it could have played out. Okay, consulted several attorneys with the statute.
So the first one said, no way Jack could get sued. The First Amendment allows Jack to speak out. They will not interpret the statute this way. Jack will not be held liable. That's number one. The second one says, it seems a little far-fetched, but it's possible. So we have one on this side, one kind of a little more in the middle. The third one said, this is exactly what would have happened. The longstanding history of damage and issues with searchers, based on the case history of the Fenn hunt and previous lawsuits, getting granted subpoenas, it would have gotten past discovery and very costly to Jack. Meaning, and then the fourth one was like, no idea. I don't know.
The most honest answer out of all of them.
Yeah. Well, this was the big one. So that's it. That's the PowerPoint. So take that down. So here was the big one. I don't think any of the 4, well, I don't know. Let's just say the 3. This is exactly what would have happened. He would have at least been sued. Think about in the Erskine case, wasn't it almost $200,000 in lawyer's fees that he got awarded? But this one may have had enough merit that he would have won, but it wouldn't have been granted. He wouldn't have had to have liabilities, but he still would have had to hire an attorney and go through the process for hundreds of thousands of dollars.
And that's the point, is even if it's like, no, the park's not going to win. It's just, I got to hire an attorney and I got to go through all this crap to deal with. It just seems to me they would have went after Forrest if this was the case. You know what I mean? Because
I believe Forrest was at least threatened, had discussions with Yellowstone officials about this. And Forrest didn't care. Forrest went, okay, sue me. And he knew they wouldn't.
Right. Forrest has the money to go, let's go to court, you know.
Right.
Forrest had FU money. I don't think Jack has FU money. Jack has TC money, treasure chest money, and he doesn't even have that yet because he hasn't sold it yet. Right. So yeah, I could see Jack just saying at Forrest, I'm not dealing with any of this. So sorry, but it's just not going to come out.
Totally hypothetical.
I mean, if me and you found the treasure chest and the lawyers were like, there's a statute where if you cause somebody to go there and they have a cost incurred, you can be held liable. Would we release the solution?
No, not if we could be held liable for it. If in our attorney's position, I would contact Yellowstone and say,
have a discussion.
Do you interpret it this way? Would you make this a tourist attraction? What can we have some discussion?
Try and work it out.
Yeah, maybe that's what's taking so long is they're going through these Yellowstone, and there's a new superintendent right now. It just got put in place about 1.5 years ago.
Oh, really? So that means no treasure hunt should really ever be done. Nobody can send somebody into Yellowstone to a specific location because if that location then gets in a public way, because if that location then gets damaged or they have to spend any money at all, you can go after the person who sent somebody there, whether it's through a poem or a treasure hunt or whatever.
Let's think about this. If we had a treasure hunt worth $1,000 and we put it in a national park, not just Yellowstone, they have billions of people. I think it's 1.5 billion people come to Yellowstone. But the Forrest hunt got on their radar because it was $1 million over 10 years.
300,000 people, according to Forrest. Right. Yeah, and if Jack came out with a solution and it was in Yellowstone National Park, I mean, that is national news and people are going to go. I mean, they just are. So would he just simply not want to deal with any legal ramifications? And not to mention the people who would sue him and not believe him and et cetera.
Okay,
in other words,
so let's go back to Jack. I'm sorry to interrupt, but here's a guy who he has not looked at or touched the treasure chest since it's found or since he left it in that vault. He is somebody that wanted the money. That's it. He didn't want the notoriety. He did not want his name out. He's a guy that would go out of his way to make sure he got the notoriety. I think he's saying, no way, give me the money. Bye, Felicia. That's what he would want.
So here's my question to Jack, if you ever watch this, and to K-Pro to get your opinion. Why wouldn't Jack just come out and say that? Why wouldn't he say, if I give the solution, some knucklehead's going to go there and they're going to try and charge me or make me pay money, hold me liable. Why wouldn't he come out and say, this is the statute. Me and Forrest had a discussion and I'm not going to release it due to this. Why would he keep that a secret?
My guess is he is waiting for, I don't think he wants to put anything out because I think he's more irritated by I think we are in general. We're irritated by the negative comments than the positive. He's dug in, but I don't think he wants anything. I don't think what if he said it was in a national park?
I was just going to say, doesn't this mean it's in a national park, which probably Yellowstone, if we're talking about Wyoming. And if you read the Thrill of the Chase, probably Yellowstone.